Today's guests are Elisabeth Baudinaud, founder and principal at CarbonWise, and Erick Ventura, business owner at VEMA Deconstruction. Erick, Elisabeth, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
having us.
Great. I know you're both in the sustainability and the construction side of things, which is a passion of ours and our company. But I know that you two both sort of work on projects in different ways. I know that there's sort of an order and stuff to it, but Erick, maybe start with Erick. Erick, I know deconstruction is sort of the big core thing that you do. Walk me through that, and then we can sort of like go back and forth with how Elisabeth comes in and what that process totally looks like.
Yeah, no, for sure. Deconstruction itself is taking a home down without basically destroying everything and having everything end up in the landfill. It's a systematic way of taking down a building step by step from the roof all the way down to the foundation, the concrete foundation. So when we offer the deconstruction um, services to our clients, um, they they understand that what they're doing is a sustainable option versus demolition. So you know we provide them with an appraisal of everything they have in their home that can be donated on their behalf. So we donate all that material on their behalf. So it's simply coming into someone's house that everything that's inside, that is flooring, windows, kitchen cabinets, bathroom, um, all the material that has a value, we will take an inventory of. We'll take some pictures of it, send it off to our appraiser. That along goes with the appraisal of the total value of lumber in the house. And that lumber is very important because it's all the dimensional lumber that's in the framing. All of the older homes have a lot of the shiplap, which is the exterior sheathing of the house, and that has high value. And really, you can't get to that unless you go piece by piece, separating the material. So that's funny enough. That's about we run into 50 to 60% of the home is shiplap material. So it's what covers the roof, what covers the walls, and the flooring. So all of that combined lumber gives the second part of the appraisal. So then the owner will receive an appraisal tax donation value of everything in the home that will be donated, and that is actually can be quite large. There is a 1917 home in Vancouver, which has a heritage status, which is basically just a classification of the lumber in the home, and it's 3,500 square feet. It's 1917, 3 levels, and has $100,000 tax donation just from the lumber. Just to give you an idea how much value is in these homes, and so once we get going on the work, our work is then the tax donation helps to offset the cost of doing this work. So that is how kind of we are competitive with demolition, as well as that's just kind of a general kind of deconstruction, kind of how things are done. And we can talk to more a little bit later about how our company does it, but that's just kind of an intro of what kind of deconstruction on a donation model kind of works.
Yeah. So the donations. So basically, um, demolition, right? There's a cost to it, and obviously, there's not the care of doing it. So obviously, it's fast or faster, but in order to sort of piece by piece sort of break it apart and get the value out of it from the client's point of view, there's a tax benefit. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, the big
Got
time.
it.
And the tax benefit is basically you know having that tax donation. You plug that number into the Red Cross tax donation website, and you put in your tax donation, your province, the amount, and then it gives you a tax credit typically 45-50% of that, and that works for the clients to use as a tax credit. So at the end of the year, if you owe $10,000 in tax, and you had a tax credit of, let's say, 10,000, then you can just offset it and then wipe it off. And you also have 5 years to use that credit, so you could use a little bit of that amount the first year, and continuously on for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it sounds really good. Elizabeth, just to give you a little heads up. I mean, is there a downside to this process? What are the rebuttals you've heard?
Downside for deconstruction, I don't see any. But I'm biased. But no, in terms of so at CarbonWise, we are energy and carbon consultants. So we actually quantify the carbon benefits of deconstruction. So from our perspective, deconstructing is obviously the way to go. Just because you don't want any materials to end in the landfill if they could be put back in a home. So just the waste of our industry is enormous, and being able to deconstruct, disassemble, reuse some of the materials either on site right away or getting them remilled and used on another job site and having that second-hand market. This is from a carbon perspective what we should all be doing.
For sure. Eric, what sort of have you is it just an awareness thing to for this to become more widespread, or is there some considerations or, rebuttals you heard, that could be answered or explained?
Yeah, yeah. Well, typically what we hear is always it takes longer to do the work, and it is more expensive. So the the way we approach this, our company, VEMA Deconstruction, what we've done is we've offered a more of a broader range of work that we could do for our clients. So we said, well, let's talk to them first. Let's see what it is that they need, um, so we can get more deconstruction projects happening. And so what we did was we accelerated the deconstruction phase. Typically, the 2 weeks that it takes, sometimes bigger homes can take 3 weeks to do the work. We've done a hybrid model where we bring machinery and we use craning of the house. Um, so by cutting the house up in big pieces, so we cut the roof in big, large pieces, and the flooring and the walls. All those panels are taken off the house and put on a flat deck. That flat deck truck takes it off site to a processing center which we have, and that processing center is at Habitat for Humanity in Burnaby. So that is where we actually take the time to separate the material and inventorize the material and prepare it for sale. That Habitat for Humanity takes over and sells it. So that really has brought things down from 3 weeks down to a week. Given that week of we like to say a week range because it can take us anywhere between 3 days to 5 days of taking a house down, depending on the size. Typically, a 2,000 square foot house, about 3 days we're off site, and then we work with our subcontractor to come in and to remove the concrete. So within that week, our goal is to remove the house off site and remove the concrete off site. So then the next week after that, the builder is pretty much ready to continue with excavation. So that is a big advantage, as well as we started also introducing what we like to call sustainable demolition, which is the alternative to demolition, which offers a lot more incentives and a lot more creative ways of, like what Elizabeth was saying, is putting back the material back into our economy, and also offering clients a lot of great options when it comes to being able to go in there early, being able to take all that material and donate it. Excavation, I mean, demolition companies aren't doing that. To then going in and stripping the house properly, sending all that material proper recycling, and then after that we to do the deconstruction where that material can then become material back into the circular economy. Finally, then it goes into removing the concrete, and we offer services as well as excavation. So we're trying to do the full beginning part, and because we can do that full beginning part, our prices have come down more comparable to demolition prices. So we are getting a lot greater response from builders. Builders like that we manage the whole demolition process. So that is kind of how we've been able to battle the price that is very high, and then also the time.
Got it. Just making more convenient.
More convenient, and we want just the clients to just be able to, we feel that what we're doing is we're receiving someone's home that it just can't be a line item on a budget to say here's demolition, one line demolition. But how do you put a lot of our clients have lived in these homes for 20 years, 10 years, and they have a history. This house almost feels like they built them. And then for someone to just put 20 years of memories into one line and saying that's a demo, give me the cheapest person to get rid of it, and let's move on. Let's build new memories. It's kind of like grabbing your dad's Camaro, which he loves so much, and then all of a sudden you're like, it's old, so let's throw it in the garbage to buy a new Camaro. Like, we want to slow things down and really make people appreciate what is the stories. And Elisabeth can talk to that about the great stories of that she's doing on the Phoenix house. And
Wonderful. Yeah, I can see it because I think, things can be like family members, right? And I think some people may want to make sure that there's, there's future use, not that it, just goes in a trash bin, that it, someone else will get to enjoy it in the future. That makes them feel better about the whole process, I guess. Yeah. So Elizabeth, yeah, walk us through the stories.
Yeah, so we are actually working right now on a fantastic project called Phoenix, with wonderful homeowners who unfortunately lost their home due to a fire, and are now rebuilding that home. And when we first met, they came to me right away asking for we want to reduce our carbon footprint. So what are the things that we can do? And that gets me really excited, of course. And so the first things that we looked at are, well, can we keep the existing concrete slab on site, because concrete is one of the higher carbon materials nowadays. And if we are able to keep it and not pour a new slab, we are actually saving, in this case, 16 tons of CO2 equivalent. And that's the equivalent of 11 return trips to New York, Vancouver, New York. So that's massive savings right there. And then the builder, while we were waiting for the building permit, had their crew deconstruct what was salvageable from, obviously some of the wood was burned, so that obviously did not get saved, but whatever could be saved was saved and just deconstructed piece by piece and actually stored on site, because we were just waiting for the building permit. So now building permit has been issued actually last week, and reconstruction is starting. And so we're going to be able to reuse some of that wood that is now just waiting on site. And we are looking at reclaimed wood wherever possible that is coming from other job sites. And as well as other low carbon materials for insulation. And we are really trying to be innovative and have partnered with a lot of fantastic companies and suppliers that understand the vision around building low carbon. And what that means is, you can see a lot of things out there that people say, oh, we are zero carbon, but how do we quantify that, right? So that's where we come in, and we look at technical spec sheets and environmental product declarations, which are like a nutritional label but for materials, and quantifying the carbon. And we look at what are the materials that make sense for this house, knowing that we are sharing this vision of low carbon. So it's a pretty exciting project, and you'll probably hear a lot more about it because the homeowners are actually filming a documentary about it. And there will be some mini series as well with the Home Builders Association, and we want to educate the industry and other homeowners about this process, just so that everybody else could do that. It's not, sure, we have challenges along the way, and there are things that we are learning, and that's normal because this is new and innovative, but we're getting there. So we want to share this story and make sure that every other house gets built this way. That's the goal.
Yeah, for sure. So fire damage, and then out of the fire, there's certain things that can be used again to rebuild. I guess what sort of things you have to navigate in terms of liability, insurance, like anything, I don't know, codes or anything? Like what goes into sort of figuring out what can be used and not? Is it just something that you do directly, or do you work with a bunch of stakeholders to figure that out?
Yes, we actually have a very strong team on these projects.
Mhm.
Very strong structural engineers as well. And funny story, when we first started saying, "Oh, we're gonna keep the slab," the engineers are like, "Well, we gotta check it out first." And so I was like, "Oh, okay, yes, sorry, yeah, please go check it out because in case it doesn't work out, that's kind of kills my whole idea and story here." So yeah, the geotech went to check it out. Approval got received from structural, and that was it. So at least for the concrete and for the wood, it's about we can't use reclaimed wood, and Eric can speak about that for structural, but we can use it for a lot of other things. So let's maximize all of those other things, right? And that's how we make it work.
Yeah, Eric, walk me through some of the considerations of these type of projects.
Well, it's so great. Just to Elizabeth talking about the story that her clients are telling in this in this build. Um, we have a friend that told us a story how when the home was being deconstructed, the the what was it called, the side door um, panel where their family they would measure their kids' age year by year. So they had that trim kind of ruler. So it was such a cool thing for the owner to say, hey, this is actually very very important memory here. So when they build them their new house, just bringing in that one a piece of door trim, putting it up in their new home. He's told us that when they walked in and they saw their new home, they just started to be emotional because that was such a great connection from their home into their new home. And these are the stories that we need to continue telling because this makes people feel good and it helps other people kind of say, well, I want to tell my story or I want to be able to have my story continue on. And we did this home in West Vancouver, which was in Jim Patterson's mom's house. And so it was really good. It got a lot of great news and stuff like that. And we deconstructed the house. Out of that home, we saved close to, I think it was very, that one had almost over 30,000 pounds of lumber, which we diverted from the landfill. So that was incredible to begin with. But what was really cool was the people calling us in saying, hey, we want to do something great for the community that were there and have some of that lumber. Can we turn it into some art? Are we able to pick up that material? I said, yeah, fantastic. Come over to Habitat. It's there. You guys can take it and create some material and continue that story. And we had one of the stories that sticks out because we had lots and lots of phone calls about where the material was going. So one was it was a couple that really liked a specific Douglas fir material that was in that shiplap, and he said they wanted to take that shiplap over to their retirement cabin, where they wanted to use reclaimed material to build their home in that cabin, and say they wanted that natural material, that wasn't. That they felt better about not having mass produced, having high carbon into creating that product, and really just kind of going back to reminding them of the days of the 50s, that material that you don't get nowadays. So it was really cool story to see that. um, but to the main thing about what we're trying to do here with lumber as well is that we want to just, a lot of the lumber that comes out of these homes goes into furniture making. A lot of the older homes have a lot of low moisture content, which helps the building of furniture, flooring, decorative walls and stuff like that. So that's just one idea. I mean, there's hundreds of ideas you can use all this lumber for. It's just really about creating the market and selling it. and Habitat is doing a really great job with us to start selling this material. But our main goal here is we want to have this lumber put back into building homes. We can start slow. We can put them in laneways, modular housing, tiny houses. A lot of research is being done. There's a lot more of a larger wave throughout Canada now that they're really saying, well, why are we taking down young trees for lumber that's not as strong, not as dense and great quality as the lumber that we have in these homes? So, if we're doing a lot of research, Elizabeth and I are part of a lot of different research LCAs that are being done as well locally with our homes that are being deconstructed. So our goal is to accelerate the opportunity to have all of reclaimed lumber be regraded, because in Canada right now, reclaimed lumber cannot be regraded structurally. So, but if you look in the U.S., Washington State, Oregon, and now even Colorado are moving towards having this material be used structurally, because it just doesn't make sense. We have to continue the idea of urban mining and really mining all this material out of our cities so we can build them up again. And so we're doing a lot of work with that. One real great work we're doing with Elizabeth as well is we are looking to do an LCA study on 10 homes that are going to be deconstructed, which allows the committees that we're speaking to, such as sorry, not committees, but the companies that we're speaking to, associations, the National Grading Lumber Association, and also Wood Research here in Alberta and here in UBC, to show them every home, the different stocks of lumber, how they were milled, the strength quality, and the makeup quality, so we can give them a house material from a house from 1910, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And when I told them this, they were super excited, because they're like, we were missing this data. We want to go ahead and start creating this lumber into putting them back into homes, creating homes, but we just never had this data. So I said, well, okay, well, I told Elizabeth, me and her both said, yeah, well, let's do it. And, like, let's just get you this information where we need to do this. And it's something very important to talk about as well. What's happening in the US, a lot of eyes are opening up more and more because of tornadoes are happening. The worst, tornado season is happening right now. And you see all these homes just destroyed, lumber everywhere destroyed. So, where's that stock coming in to create these new homes? And temporary homes, because even temporary homes have to be started up, because it takes, I would say over a year, maybe 6 months to over a year, to just even get anyone even to start building again, right? So there's a lot of opportunities here. And so I think that we need to just push the idea of the importance of deconstruction, as well as carbon is so important to then create housing, and not just how maybe people in the past have just always thought that it's nice decorative wall, like some flooring. I think there's a bigger thing that we're missing here, and it's housing.
Sure. I mean, in the US, I guess, a lot of this is supply and need, right? So they just have to innovate. Whereas I don't know, maybe here we just maybe are we a little spoiled with all the wood here? Is
Yeah. No, I mean, even to give you an idea of, like, when Lytton caught on fire and those homes went all down, it took a long time to start rebuilding. And where are the people going? Where they don't want to leave living where they're from. But can you imagine having lumber available in modular housing that can be put up quickly for them? And a lot of these prefab companies are doing amazing things, especially with making them quickly in factories. We work with another company that is kind of innovating the idea of bringing modules that unfold and quickly unfold to then be able to have people living in them. So I think there's a great connection there, and I think it'll be even more important in the future as we deal with this climate change that's going to be happening. So it's a lot there. I don't know, Elizabeth, do you have something to add to that too? There's lots to add.
Yes, definitely. For and we have a mandate as well to build more housing, right?
Yeah.
So there is temporary or long-term housing. We know that we need to be building more housing for the people in this province and in Canada. And how do we build just faster without compromising the quality. And how do we, on the topic of embodied carbon, obviously, the emissions associated with all the materials, if we are to build all these new housing now, where are the materials coming from? What's their impact on the environment? You know, are they coming from the other end of the world, or are we making them here? And then this makes so much sense to have lumber coming down from houses that are here locally, then remilled and reused right away. Just we don't have to extract the raw materials. It's faster, and Erick will tell us that the wood is also stronger and it's better quality. So we have to be reusing that as much as we can to create that really local circular economy that we've been talking about. I feel like there's a huge opportunity, especially in the construction sector, that has been, it's always, well, now it's seeing a growth, or there's a mandate to see a growth. So how do we make that happen quickly, locally, and being conscious of the climate, obviously?
Hmm.
Great, great, thank you. I mean, I hear all this. There seems to be lots of opportunities for innovation, right? Doing the right thing. So if someone's listening to this and they get excited and says, "Well, how do I get involved? How do I make a difference?" Erick, and then Elizabeth, what should they do?
Well, I think right now we're at education stage. We need to educate everyone, the general public. We have been working over the last year to pass on this information to builders, and they're aware of it. And at this point, it's really just us going in and giving them um, quotes and say, "Hey guys, let's give you a quote on this house. You can compare with your numbers. You'll see that our numbers are not that crazy high compared to demolition, and your clients." So we're going to give them tools as well for the people that are interested, builders that are interested, to give to their clients to say, "Look at all the great benefits. Look at where all this great material is going." Um, so education is important right now. We were teaching at BCIT. I was teaching deconstruction management at BCIT. We taught 3 classes, and or sorry, we did. I was actually in the first class, and then I jumped into teaching the second and third class, and so it was great. You can imagine having our class full of. It was done online, and it was we had guest speakers from the U.S. and Canada come and talk and really spread the amazing things that are being done. And we had everything you can imagine, from architects, waste management industry specialists, consultants, other entrepreneurs. There was just so much excitement, and so education is a big one. We need to pass that on, and I think that one of the best ways to do it is at big events or expos, if we can show um, show people what you can make from this stuff, physically seeing it, touching it, even you know weird enough, like Douglas fir and cedar smells really good, right? Like it's a nice smell, and and apart from all that, it's such an important thing of the biolithic design advantage to having that exposure to the natural world, which is why if you look at more and more of these higher end homes, and also a lot of offices are being built with more wood, more exposure to the bigger windows, so you can be exposed to the outside, see trees. This stuff helps you with your mental health, right? It makes a big connection, and we're doing a lot of we're actually doing some work with the University of Tokyo on deconstruction. So it's a lot of cool stuff of how they're doing and how they wanted to kind of do this. So yeah, I think importantly is education right now is the main thing, and spread the word of that there's another option to demolition. There's just not one way to do it, and get excited about it, that there's going to be a market. A lot of the cities want to know, fine, if the bylaws change to let's start deconstructing more houses, where's this material going, right? So we have to really work on three parts here. We work on the policy part to get this kind of more introduced. We work on the innovation part of getting deconstruction done faster, and then producing that material, and then that market is created, to sell all of this lumber. I'm getting phone calls from architects all the time. Hey, we want to renovate our our offices. We want to make that connection of using reclaimed material. So they want to build their offices, their firms with all this material, and that market will grow. That market will grow as long as we keep bringing in more material. The market will grow. I'm sure of it. People would rather have a nice reclaimed piece of lumber than thinking that they tore down a tree that was not mature enough, and then using it to lower standards, right? I mean, SPF 2x4s, you can, I bet you if you put it up, you can kick it and you can break it in half, right? Try kicking a 1920s Douglas fir dent thing, you'll break your foot, right? So
There you
it's
go.
amazing quality stuff, yeah. But yeah, I think just kind of a big thing is if you want to get involved, it's education, it's spreading the word, spreading the idea, going to your cities and talking at round tables, talking to them, saying that hey, we've heard of another option. What are you guys doing about this option? How do we get this deconstruction option so more contractors can come in as well to start doing this? So yeah, I think that's kind of the thing.
Yeah, Elizabeth, how about you?
Yeah, I think we always say that, and it doesn't get applied enough, in my opinion. But reaching out early and collaboration early on. So reaching out to Erick or myself very early on in the design process, where we still have time to make changes, where we can strategize about those things early on, being the energy efficiency in our case, or the carbon footprint, or deconstruction early on, like what are the things that could be reused. Can we think about that a bit earlier in the process, instead of it's a last minute thing, demo is happening tomorrow, can is there another option? Well, now demo is happening tomorrow, so there is only so much we can do at this point, versus having that conversation early. And that's how we actually end up working together quite a lot with Erick, because I think about that obviously when we have clients in the design process. I say, so there is a house already on this lot, like what are you thinking for this house, what is the plan? And they'll get the tax credit, and that's actually a thing that has been an incentive for a few of our clients already, that said, oh, I didn't know this existed, okay, tell me more. And then once they hear about it, they're like, oh, that sounds great from an environmental perspective, and there's money at the end. Oh, okay, let's do that. So but without, this is part of like thinking and strategizing and collaborating early on. So we can't always get this result when we are hired and the thing is happening tomorrow. So for me, definitely the key point is reaching out early, and just even talking about it. It's never too early.
Yeah, and that's actually a great point because when you sit down with the builder, the architect, the engineer, and then the owner, that's usually a closed meeting. Really, they start looking for their subcontractors, subtrades, their professionals to do the work, and nothing is kind of introduced here. So it's a great idea to have us at the table at that point to start talking to them and explaining to them, hey, you have amazing material in this house. You have an option of putting this material back into your house to get grants from the city. The program Near Zero is one of the programs that is offered by City of Vancouver that gives you grants up to $40,000 if you reduce your embodied carbon when you're building. So this is kind of the thing that Elisabeth and me have been working on, and I think Elisabeth already had one of her clients 2 grants. I think you were saying last time.
We have a couple people registered, yes, and we don't have the final numbers yet, but we are a couple clients already in the program.
Yeah, and so well, we've also been told that two clients have received 18,000 tax grants, or sorry, the grant from the City of Vancouver for that, and it's just you get a better home overall. You get a better sense of having that material back in to your home. But another thing too is that people start focusing so much on the end product, say, and then somehow it's gone into this thing where like to build a house has been, so it's expensive to begin with, and we understand why it's expensive, right? But they think that everything has to be like cost, as cheap as I can, as fast as I can, and then I want my house. So it's really, you're missing the journey here, and you sit in front of the table and you sit with the clients in the chair, you hear them talk, talking about all the great things they want to do with their house, all the great ideas that are available to them. They didn't even know they were available to them. So, I'll tell you one quick story. We had a house that was two homes that were side by side, land assembly in New West, and you know, we were brought in to do the deconstruction of two of these homes. They were 1907 homes, 1906 homes. A long history of where these homes came from, heritage homes that had families from the military and families from the early 1900s from the mills. They were there at the early on, and so there's a history of that stuff. And we were to the point where we were too late in that conversation, which they regretted because they're like, we could have put all of this great stuff, all this great story into this new townhouses that they're building. But what they were able to still do though was able to present the deconstruction process that we did on these homes, how much of that material was diverted, and just to give you an idea, 6 of those homes were sold way faster than they even thought they could have been sold. So they paused it and they said, "Oh my God, this is happening too fast!" Right? Like it was such a great thing of just showing on those banners. It wasn't just the name of a company; it was an actual information saying, "Look at all the great stuff this builder decided to do. They decided to divert this material. They paid a little bit extra for this stuff." Like that's telling a story, and I think people can connect to that big time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I could feel the passion. I'm sure you could talk hours on this topic. I learned a lot, and I appreciate you both for making the time to share.